Hello, this is Sheshachalam from AstroGuide Mysore. Today let us take up the last placement of moon, that is the 12th house. After this, I will have to do the moon's charity and remedial measures, the scientific remedial measures, all that will be taken care of. Okay, there are few important factors of the 12th house which are very important when moon is placed there. I am not talking about the moksha, that is salvation or elevation, because moon is mind, and very, very rarely, the mind, it's like the surface of the water. When we were learning many other subjects of philosophy, the surface of the water rarely stays calm. There are so many other influences which actually, makes ripples or creates waves or makes undulations, the water not in a plane. So the mind is like the reflection of a full moon through the surface of the water. So when you see the surface of the water, you cannot see the full moon intact. It will be like, shredded into pieces. You cannot see it correctly. It might be murky water, it might not be plain, the waves are too high. Only when there is pure tranquility and the water is very still, not frozen. Once again, it should be water, it should not be ice. You cannot see, reflections over ice or snow. And why? Scientifically, because the light gets dispersed, distracted, and it goes somewhere else. It gets dispersed. But water, when it is very plain, you can see a pure reflection of the light which falls on it. So the rarest of the rarest moment comes when the water is tranquil and stable. So that's why I am not taking up the issue of the 12th house signification of moksha. Where does the mind get completely immersed is into indulgence, into the materialistic indulgence, into emotional confusions, and many other points of this creation. So, the main point which I have noted down here is that the 12th house is experience of the person or the native with the external and internal factors of sensuality and sensibility. So here, what is sensuality? It is pertaining to the external factor where the five senses are concerned. Sensibility is pertaining to the factor where the mind is concerned. So mind is sensitivity and sensibility. Here it is sensitivity and sensualness. That is, you touch, you feel, and what actually is communicated through that particular sense, the five senses. So that is what it is. So we will only touch this particular point, and then some few more other points are there of the 12th house which are very important, that I will touch. Because we will not be able to, I cannot do a full justice of going through all the factors of the 12th house. When time permits, I will be telling you the minor factors of each house, like the first house to the 12th house, all the minor factors which I have not touched in my earlier classes. Let us do that class. It needs a little research, and I will put some charts also for that. But let us carry on with the 12th house. Moon, as we know, is a planet which actually tends to give fickle-mindedness to the native if it is weak or along with any planet which actually is not in a good state. Moon alone also is not such a great placement. Along with another planet, it will have a lot of influence of the planet, but still there is something to rely on. It's like the light which needs a wall to form a figure or an image. So it needs another planet supportive, and that is why the Sunapa yogas and the Anapa yogas, Durdara yogas are so important, that planets close to moon becomes strong, but planets too close to moon becomes very weak, and the planet takes all the strength from moon, and it doubles its strength. So the influence of the planet which is very close to moon doubles. But the same thing, when a planet is very close to sun, it becomes as good as zero because it is combust. So this is what we should understand. So once again I'll tell, a planet which is very close to moon, let us say within 1 degree. So if a planet is very close to moon, the planet will double its strength. If the planet is very close to sun, that is within 1 degree, then it loses most of its strength. So that is sun gains all the strength. So here, the second most important factor here with regard to this placement is the experimentation of the native when he is in his young age, that is the Balyavastha, because moon represents Balyavastha, and the experimentation in life, like the curiosity, the experimentation on do this, do that, trying to understand themselves, all these experimentations will be successful and the person will get good knowledge out of it if the moon is well placed. That means he will experience but never get attached. The reverse is that he will experience and he will totally get lost into it. That is, he will get indulgence. He will get indulged into it. Like for example, in my case, moon in the second house, I get indulged with food. It's not that I experience it and I come out of it. I still am attached to food. My wife prepares fantastic food and I am still attached to it. So what can I do? I am helpless. This helplessness has to be controlled by your superconscious, but what happens is the other way around. The moon, which is placed in the second house, is controlling the superconscious. It is telling it that I will do it afterwards, not now. Now, today, let me taste my food and eat it. Same thing happens when moon is in the 12th house. 12th house means other indulgences, like going into addictions like drugs, alcohol, many other things. It is not the second house, it is the 12th house. You go into other indulgences like sensual indulgence, where you will not be able to come out. So if moon Rahu, moon Saturn, moon Shukra, moon Mars, any planet which is sitting there in the 12th house will have its influence over moon, and that is the indulgence what you will have in your life. Like for example, you have a very strong Gajakesari yoga, that is moon and Jupiter in the 12th house, very well posited, and if it is strong, then there will be indulgence with regard to studying, going into spiritual activity to a higher level. Even the household, the family members will be objecting, like, why do you want to, you are actually becoming mad, you are going into becoming a sannyasi, which we do not want. We have so many dreams with our son, he has to get married, he'll have children. So this is the regular thing what generally people think of. No, they want their son or daughter to get well settled, get married, have children, have a big bungalow, have cars, live happily. So they think this is happiness. But the 12th house teaches you a different path of happiness. So that is giving you happiness. You cannot explain that to a person who does not have that combination. You will be searching for a person who has the combination, and this becomes an obstacle for marriage. This becomes an obstacle for continuation of relationships, because you may get attracted for a while to a person, but after a few months or within a year, you will feel their disconnect is there, that I feel something else and she feels something else, or she feels something else, I feel something like that. There will be a disconnect and you will finally tell no to that relationship. There is some construction activity going on, so please excuse me. This particular cutting sound or whatever has just started. So let me continue. My voice is strong. I have just increased my volume so that you will not have any disruption. So these people who are having weak moon in the 12th house should actually concentrate on not getting lost into the sensual world. Later, they can become, when it is strong and well placed, these people can become doctors, particularly physicians, psychiatrists, psychologists, monovijnani, what we tell. So they can become very good in that. They can be lawyers, they can become religious leaders, they can go into preaching, teaching, many other jobs which actually are very good, which influences the mind more than anything else. So the 12th is also, see, I am coming to another point here. 12th is also losing status, losing respect, confinement, allegation, humiliation. So if a weak moon along with a bad planet there and the Lagna Lord is weak, there is a chance of all this happening or any one of this happening, like suspension, problem with regard to status in job, excuse me. So, problem with in the job, suddenly getting 15 days off because of suspension, going through inquiry, and so and so. So, if moon is along with the 8th lord and is weak in the 12th house, there is a chance of confinement. This confinement will not always be arrested and put into behind bars, which is also included in this, but still confinement with regard to getting humiliated in the society and restricts himself from meeting public and sits inside the house totally depressed. He does not want to go out and meet people. That self-confidence is totally done with, and he is like that this is the end of the world. So he wants some, people have to give, family has to give him support, or counseling has to be done. So he has to be given that mental motivation so that he can come out and, come out of that depression. People go through depression due to trauma, people go through depression due to many things, even suddenly the loss of a company or loss of somebody in the family, many things. Loss, because of some loss, if somebody goes into trauma, that placement of moon in the 12th will be very dangerous because it will pull you down deep into depression. So, losing respect, losing identity, losing self-knowledge of consciousness, losing self-interest, losing motivation, all this can happen because of moon. Okay, so people, in good placements of moon, people can get into, addicted or indulge, or an OCD problem might happen, or bipolarity problem may happen, because the 12th house also represents hospitalization. So this has to be dealt with very seriously. In medical astrology, we have to see the D3, we have to see the D1, D9 and the Bhava chart and do it in carefully. So I have just touched that subject and I am not going deep into it. So people are with this strong moon can be philanthropists. They do a lot of dhana, dharma. That what is dhana and dharma is charity and giving. They believe in giving. So they give a lot to people and they do very good dharma, that is righteous acts and deeds which actually will support them in their life. Mentally it supports, and also the public will be there with them. So they are known people for this particular type of charity. Okay, if it is a difficult moon, that is a weak moon placed but with a strong negative planet, then wasteful expenditure might happen. Might happen because of litigations. You'll have to spend a lot of money. You might have to spend a lot of money for hospitalization. You might have to spend a lot of money for unnecessary travel and breakdowns in equipment, many other things. Sudden loss, things like accidents, like unknown, what we call in that, in the lawn tennis match, unforced error. That is, he was not forced to do that error. So it was unforced. But because of his bad time, he could not return the ball back to the court. So that means he could have, but he couldn't. Same thing happens when there is a bad planet in the 12th house along with moon. The person tries to come out of the situation, but because of the bad situation or the bad placement of moon, wasteful expenditures might happen. Like for example, I'll give you an example. Recently, a person had booked a huge hall for marriage. Everything was fixed, and just 10 days before the marriage was called off. The whole amount what they had spent, somewhere around 15 to 20 lakhs, simply went into, it's waste. It's just a waste. It's an account which has been wasted. Somebody else got that money, that's a different issue, but his work was not done. He simply wasted that money. So, this also should be understood, that if there is a tough planet sitting along with moon in the 12th, do not do or plan things ahead unnecessarily. Wait only when things are sure. take somebody's help, of the family member's help, whom you trust, and then go and invest. Simply going and putting money, thinking that you are going to get money from somewhere, you will not get that. You will not be able to finish this. Not here or there. You will be stuck in between, and that's a very tough situation. So illnesses with regard to moon in this particular place is sleep disorder. We all know that. Going into unnecessary dreams, getting imaginative dreams, getting into phobia into dreams. Dream itself becomes a traumatic experience for people. People go through, a nightmare. It becomes a nightmare for them. People don't want the night at all. So all these things happen. Vertigo is a problem which happens because of the fluid in the ear, in the inner ear, which is also because of the 12th place of moon. Nausea, sinusitis, because it is also very close to the head. So yeah, you were telling me something.
I just wanted to add that wasteful expenses depends upon the planets, the lordship.
Yeah, it depends upon the planet, because if the eighth lord is there, then litigation and wasteful expenses because of that. If the fifth lord is there along with another bad planet there, wasteful expenses because of some planning for children. You might want to send your son abroad. You will have booked a visa. You might lose that money. So something like that. So you should understand which is the lordship which is actually trying to do that wasteful expense, and you will understand actually what you should be able to correlate and analyze and put two things together, and then you will get to understand what actually is going to happen in the person's life. So thank you very much for today's class, and once again I would apologize for the sound what the construction people are doing next on the next site. It's not my site. I would have asked them to stop, but still, thank you very much.